Well, as we're seeing here, the characters, Durdle, Usmok, and Tenroujima are standing on the deck. Around them there are some sailors. The ship is sailing. It's easy waters right now, and Caevan is currently steering the ship, although he does have a first mate, so he can take some time off from steering the ship sometimes, allowing the ship to sail both night and day. The players are standing around here and, well, looking down the cargo hold where they see Thorak sort of sitting, meditating as
Caevan, how goes the sailing? Any problems?
Caevan looks at Durdle, sort of shakes his head. No, everything seems to be fine. The weather's good and the crew's happy. Finally got away from that port. Was afraid we'd be stuck there for another couple of days.
Time was not on our side, but be God, I'm happy we're not going to deal with them anymore. Durdle stretching and enjoying not having to worry about humans and orcs for the time being. He's looking around the ship and he starts looking around for Tenroujima and Usmok. And he notices, he sees Thorak still down in the cargo hold.
Sitting cross-legged, his eyes closed, not even looking up.
And just has a look around to see if Tenroujima or Usmok's around on deck.
No, Usmok's not on deck. He will probably just be waking up around now. Well, I guess I don't know actually where I'm sleeping. If I would go out, would I like walk out into the cargo hold or I don't know.
The cargo hold would probably be like kept separate from like the ship cabins or what have you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
And Twizzix is probably like sleeping on the deck since he can't really get down into the ship. So
Right.
he could squeeze around, but it would be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess Usmok will come up onto the deck from below decks and nod to Durdle, greet him, and then go over to Twizzix and begin like the whole like take care of your eagle thing.
Durdle will sort of nod back to Usmok and sort of look at him and just, as he's walking by, saying, "Have a good rest. It's good to see your pals back up."
Yes. It was not a pleasant experience being parted from your life friend. It was imperative that I revive him from his sleep.
I get the feeling, how much do you remember of what happened?
I remember flying around the walls of Cais. I remember winging toward the massive creature that was ravaging the center of the city. I remember firing some shots at it before Twizzix was removed from below me and I fell down to the ground. After that, not much is clear to my brain.
Yeah, Durdle nods. Well, I think you can kind of tell we're not in Kai anymore.
No, that seems to be true. Where are we going, actually?
Well, we've got a few things. You know where Tenroujima is?
No, I haven't seen her.
The Durdle turns to look back to Caevan and actually looks to one of the nearest sailors and say, "Have you seen the last of the ship?"
What was that?
Just to one of the nearest sailors that's around, just goes, "Have you seen the lass?"
The sailor shakes his head. No, I've not seen her around for some time. He was thinking trying to think of when he saw her last. I think when she boarded. I haven't seen her since.
Well, I'm sure she'll come up when she wishes. Anyway, there's a few things I need to answer for you, to you, Usmok, to bring you up to speed. Firstly, I think might need to introduce you to our new guest.
And who's that?
Well, Durdle walks over to the edge of the cargo hold with the grate is removed somehow. It's not there anymore. And it's open. And Durdle looks down and goes, well, say hello. Back to Usmok.
Thorak, with his eyes closed, inhaling deeply, not bothering to look up, says,
This one smells of eagle.
Usmok looks down and says, kind of warily, greetings, and who might you be? I am Usmok, an Eagle Knight.
That would explain it.
he opens his eyes and raises to a standing position, looking at, I'm not sure how deep the cargo hold is, but he's only 8.5 feet tall. It's not a big deal, right?
Only.
And he says, his eyes staring at Usmok.
I am Thorak the Ineffable, giant bane, son of a sealed cane, the hunter of orcs, the slayer of ogres, and the terror of trolls. It is nice to meet you, Usmok the Eagle Knight.
Usmok will nod and say, and I suppose it is nice to meet you too, Thorak. And then kind of looking back up, saying to Durdle, I think I'm going to go for a flight for a while. I'll be back in perhaps an hour.
Well, before you go, there's a few other things to fill you in on. Firstly, this here, he's the hero of Cais. He's the reason why we're needing to leave so quickly. A troll came to the city to offer a free safety to the city, to forge an alliance if we brought this big guy and banished him from the city. I saw a way for us to get out of there quickly and I took it. To be fair, it's good to be gone. However, you're going to kind of notice we're missing someone on the ship. Vognar's decided to not continue along with us. Durdle pats Usmok on the back. Just figured you'd want to catch up very quickly on what's been happening.
Not Durdle. I'm not Durdle. Usmok, will splutter a bit and say, well, where's Wagner gone?
Home.
What for?
Durdle smiles. We came to some big differences. I'm sure you already knew me and Wagner didn't exactly get along very well. Well, it didn't get along a lot. I did something, he didn't like it, he's left. Although he did give us this letter to deliver. Durdle removes a letter from his jacket, and it's with his name and address on it.
No.
Not to Vognar's name and address on it, with
It doesn't have a name or address on it at all. It's a sheaf of sealed papers that are the Seal Clan Grimbeard. There's no letter of address on it at all.
Alright, just this blank piece of paper.
Like several sheets of paper bound together with a wax seal.
There you go.
And a band.
And, well, we were to meet a man in Cathmore. Well, he's apparently going to find us, and when he does, we offer this to him. Durdle puts it back in his jacket.
Usmok will pat Durdle on the shoulder and say, well, I won't pry. I'll leave you to your own devices here. Now, if you'll excuse me, and he'll walk off towards Twizzix and fly away, I guess, for a while.
And Durdle watches for a few seconds as Usmok flies away.
Thorak, still looking up from the cargo hold while standing, it focuses on Durdle and says,
I made a good impression. Yes.
Durdle looks back to Thorak a bit confused. As says, well, the fact he didn't try to kill you, I'd agree. You made a good impression.
It would have been unfortunate. were the ship to suddenly sink due to combat.
Durdle can't help but laugh. No. How are you doing though? A lot of your life's...
Well, I am currently confined to an itty-bitty cargo hold, sailing away from the home I have just been banished from, and I have not even been told the stories you promised me of how the hell your little group came to cause such great chaos within my home, supposedly destroying the Warman of Teeth and saving the city of Cais itself.
Durdle scratches at his beard and leans back and goes, well, firstly, you're not confined to the cargo hold. You can come out and walk. That's just your living space if you wish.
Is that a fact? I understand that the mass do not seem so close to your head as they do to mine.
Durdle smiles, says, well, you could always crawl.
Roll, I am sure all of the little itty-bitty obstacles and barrels would appreciate my presence aboard the deck.
We'll make sure to find somewhere to land soon so you can stretch your legs.
That will be unnecessary. Story time, however, is...
Well, that's no problem. I'm kind of waiting for Tenru to come up deck, so I've got the time to tell you a few stories. You say you want to know how this merry band of misfits came together.
No, I want to know how the hell you destroyed the Warman of Teeth's camp.
Well, several things in fact. We were kidnapped by some wyverns and some patrolling orcs and forced as armed prisoners. Didn't take our weapons from us, didn't take our armor from us.
You're serious?
Durdle nods slowly. Yes, we were forced into a cell with all of our weapons and all of our armor still upon us. If anything, they actually picked up weapons that we had discarded and brought them back to us. I think you can kind of see how we bested those orcs. Not the smartest of people. Durdle taps his head.
I somehow expected more from the Warman of Teeth. Was there some sort of reason why you were left with everything?
Well, I don't know exactly what the reasons were, but he wanted us to cook him and his group a meal. A meal for a feast that he was holding. He also gave us free roam of the camp, so long as we did not leave it.
By God, if I knew it would have been that damn easy, I would have been captured myself.
Although, there were several things. They had captured a troll, they had a horde of wyverns, a shaman, a very well-stocked armory, and very well-trained orcs. We decided that, for one thing, they wanted us to cook a meal of humans for them. That wasn't going to happen, as you could kind of tell, and Durdle motions to the distance and to the other sailors. I'm kind of fond of humans. I don't like cooking them or killing them. Well, depends what they do to me, but you get the point. I'm not a fan of cooking them. So, we decided that's not the case. We weren't going to kill a human. We were going to free them, rescue them. And we were going to try our best to figure out how to do that. After
So, you were captured and imprisoned in this camp with all of your weapons and armor and equipment because you needed all of this, of course, to cook a batch of humans so that the orcs and their half-orc leadership could eat them.
Durdle.
And these humans were, of course, also kept prisoner within the camp. so they were like a stone's throw from you.
Durdle nods. Yep. Yeah, you're following this story pretty well.
By Cord, I thought that the orcs breeding with humans was supposed to make them smarter.
Well, I'll tell you now, the Warman of Teeth, he was significantly easier than the orcs that were attacking Cais, I will tell you that right now. But the camp itself still held hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands of orcs. There was a considerable number.
Right, so you were kept in... The prisoners were probably kept in a centralized location, so your task was to free dozens of prisoners with, I presume, no training and weaponry, while they were surrounded by hundreds of orcs and wyverns.
Durdle nods. Indeed. Now, when you put it like that, you make it sound impossible. Now, did I also add that there was hundreds of prisoners, and of course that was injured, old, kids. None of them were soldiers. Apart from a few talented hunters that some of our party had known, we were also able to smuggle some of the more trained individuals. Give them weapons, give them armor. Of course, did I tell you we had free roam of the place? We requisitioned the armory's tent to acquire all this equipment. And as well as finding subtle ways to equip and hoard materials and allies, we caused some political uproar and made some bargains with the troll that they had imprisoned. Durdle looks to Thorak and just says, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." And the troll, well, against hundreds of orcs, a troll could have its benefit. So we played off the orcs, the chiefs, the leaders against one another. The shaman hated the warman hated the wyvern rider hated everyone. So we played off on this. We tried to see ways to get them to upset one another. Eventually, we realized we needed to act. We could wind them up ever more, but it could take too much time. So we readied ourselves, and we decided there was, as I said, there was about 4 sectors of this camp. There was the shaman, the majestic magical man. There was the wyvern master, the one who controlled all those flying demons. The armorer, who made sure to keep all of his men well geared and equipped and trained, and of course there was the war man himself. Now, we figured if we were going to get rid of all these prisoners, we needed to, well, stop the wyverns. We could deal with orcs. Wyverns, they were a whole different ballgame. And we'd heard that wyvern, the children, you know, the youngins, the whelps, if you got them scared and terrified, then the mothers would chase them. So we figured if we caused unrest and uproar in the wyvern sector, then we would reduce the problems drastically for the remainder. So we killed the wyvern master and a lot of wyverns. Durdle laughs.
Right. But the camp was still full of hundreds of orcs, theoretically well organized, as well organized as orcs can be.
And Durdle nods. I kind of missed a part of the story. Just before we took on the wyvern master, we did let free a troll. The troll that said buried. We unearthed him to let him have free reign of the camp. So he distracted quite a significant number of the orcs, allowing us to deal with the wyvern master.
Do you know why the orcs were keeping a troll imprisoned in their camp?
They didn't know how to kill it. Trolls heal fast.
Surely someone in that camp, its leadership, had to have known that you set the damn thing on fire, right?
Durdle looks and says, if that was the case, I think the leader wanted to keep the troll alive because it upset the shaman. The shaman was not a fan of the troll. So there, as I said, we tried to play them off against one another because there was a lot of hatred between them.
Thorak's jaw slightly unhinges, and he looks up at Durdle with a bewildered expression.
We both know orcs aren't the smartest. This camp was not a stellar example of brains.
And I presume that is how you managed to escape with everyone alive and killing the war man of teeth in the process, while also killing hundreds of orcs.
Durdle taps his chin. There is elements of the story that, well, depending on your stats, I'll explain more in detail, but we killed the Wyvern Master, which removed a majority of the problems with the Wyvern. We assassinated the Chief Armourer, on a one-on-one combat. We had a very well-armoured dwarf as part of our retinue that was able to take care of him. Yeah. He was the one that raised those undead beings that you saw in front of the city. He's no longer a part of our group, but he was a talented dwarf.
Yes, I heard you mention his name to Usmok. Continue.
So, we slain the chief in a one-on-one combat. We tried to play off on the orcs' honor and to get them riled up, and it worked. As soon as the guy was dead, the orcs had a riot. They started fighting amongst themselves, causing chaos and havoc. We played off of that. We used that as a distraction to try and get away, to save as many of the people as possible.
Wait. Did you just say orc honor?
Durdle nods. Well, we did try to play off their stupidity. So we got him in one-on-one. This was actually, we encountered the Master Armourer Man, Orc Man, just outside the prison camp. So it wasn't too far for us to get the prisoners out into some form of rescue in some extent.
All right. I get the point. The rest of the story finishes with the orcs being moronic and you all somehow obliterating this damn camp. Fine. But the orcs in the south that were besieging Cais had far more than stupid orcs on their side. How did you save the city?
Durdle thinks and says, these were a lot more terrifying orcs. They had controls of bugs, demons, giant centipedes. They had siege equipment, armor, strong weapons. How we bested them? Durdle taps his head. We just used our wits. We had a solid defensive line. We had some time. We utilized our tactics and brains and how to analyze the situation. We've dealt with orcs before. So, straight off the first line. When we arrived, we were told that the city was under quarantine. It would be under siege, no ships were to leave. So we decided, well, if we're going to fight, let's prepare for it. On the first day of arrival, we planned and we spent money accordingly if the city was to be under siege. And Durdle waves his hands again to the horizon where Usmok flew off to. We bought bombs. Lots of bombs for...
Bombs.
Yes. As you could tell, we've got an eagle. An eagle with a rider. And a rider can drop bombs. We figured...
What are bombs? Explain this concept to me.
Well, you know fire, yeah? It hurts.
Yes.
Have you ever encountered a substance as well as fire that melts with no flame? It burns, but there is no flame. We call this acid. What happened is, we had a concoction of oils, and oils are very flammable, they'll ignite, and acid in a bag. And when you drop this bag, all of it combines and ignites and explodes like a boom, and bits of orc, fire and acid fly everywhere. It's a glorious sight. So we equipped our Eagle Rider with a few dozen bags of bombs.
I suppose that would explain what became of some of the spiders.
Durdle nods. We dropped a few of those bombs on the spiders, as well as Durdle smiles, as well as good swordsmanship. Took care of them. From what I could also tell, the spiders, those were what the bombs were utilized for. We set them on fire, we melted them. However, we had demons, we had flying wasp things, we had siege equipment to deal with. Now, when we were purchasing certain equipment, we knew very little. We had our Eagle Rider scout out the territory to give us an idea of what we'd be encountering. We encountered that we would be dealing with thousands of orcs, as well as a lot of bugs. And Durdle shivers.
I am familiar with these. I believe they are known as spider eaters. Their poison is quite potent. You must kill them at range.
Durdle thinks, are those the things that looked like flying yellow bees things? You know, yellow and black stripes on them?
The orcs have managed to tame them and make mounts of them. Much to my bewilderment, as I had no idea orcs were capable of such incredible feats of knowledge.
Durdle nods. You would have got along well with Vognar, but we all shared the same ideas. We found this unsurmountable. How could a city as Cais, so poorly defended, they had no defensive structure, weaponry at all, no ballistas, no catapults, just a few fortifications and a very minor force.
Hence my confusion at how the city survived that for one night.
Yeah, Durdle nods. Well, I'll be honest with you. As talented as I am with a sword, Usmok with his bow and bombs, and Tenroujima with our skills, it was Vognar that helped carry the fight. How? Well, on the first siege, when we were attacked, the city was laid siege on two fronts, on polar opposites of the castle, and the front as well. I was able to deal with one flank, but Vognar, one dwarf, was able to deal with two flanks at the same time. He had summoned up corpses, reanimated the skeletons of trolls and dwarves, to fight at the front gate. This single-handedly held off against the first wave on the gate. He himself, as well, solely took out another wave. As far as he told me, it was a bunch of flying demons. I can't remember the name of it, but from what I can tell, if these orcs are able to control not only flying spider eaters, yeah, and spiders and giant centipedes, I'm not sure how Cais was able to survive beforehand. But Vognar single-handedly annihilated two waves himself. Without his skills, we would have surely lost the wall in that moment.
I see.
But it was not all success. We beat back the first wave, minimal wounds. I myself was, although minimal casualties, I should say. I myself was very, very severely wounded. I'll tell you now, spiders, half-orcs, berserkers, bloody hell, they hurt.
I was able to watch from a distance as the lights you had up for the militia made things apparent. Yet I saw the forces that attacked, and I remain bewildered that you were able to repel them.
We maintained a brutal attitude. We held no prisoners. Everyone must die. You know, we couldn't allow a single orc to leave. That was another orc that could lay siege on the wall. If we could find ways to reduce their number, even by those single numbers, that was one less orc that they could throw at us. The second wave, when it came, was mixed with several interesting things. We were attacked in a threefold way. On the same flank where the spider eaters attacked, we had, the spiders attacked, the spider eaters attacked. I guess they were hungry for a snack, looking for the corpses.
Right, and you had the battering ram moving towards the main gate. Those undead creations having been destroyed.
Durdle nods. And thirdly, we had a colossal, I mean gigantic, you probably saw it from where you were, thrashing inside the city. This thing was hundreds of feet tall.
And its skeleton I saw outside the gate. So I suppose you all dealt with that too.
We did kill it. We had to fall back from the spider eater flank, but we destroyed the ram, the siege equipment. I helped Wagner in destroying that. We then dealt with the spider eaters, and then had to deal with the worm. It's all a blur, but as you know, the adrenaline from combat can really put a hamper on your memory. But
and naturally, after you destroyed this vanguard of maddening forces, the orcs had no interest in assaulting the walls themselves until your little play with the tyrant's forces caught them in a pincer.
Durdle nods. We did have several attempts at them wanting to parley for peace or a lesser tribute. We killed them.
Of course, the orcs are little more than bullies, and I must say, I am impressed that those little humans who are so ill prepared for a siege, with your help, of course, managed to fend off such an attack.
We had some tactical ideas. We littered the field with junk and rubbish, I'm sure you saw. We also made the bottoms of the walls very icy. We used seawater to freeze the land to make it difficult for them to sail.
Is that so?
It worked. We didn't have enough time to build a moat. Just enough time to make it difficult for them. Slow it down. Bring them into our kill zones for the archers.
Yeah. The half ogre shakes his head.
If the orcs were not so damned cowardly, then they would have easily taken the city. But I am pleased then that the city of Cais learned to fend for itself before entering into its agreement with the tyrant.
Well, at the very least, we may have lost a solid guardian if your stories that you've told me are true, with you slaying many, and the stories I've heard from others tell of you. But they have at least several skeletons to help look after it. And of course, this alliance with the tyrants. Durdle.
I suppose that fulfills the agreement that you did explain to me, although I am pleased I am not traveling with some ragtag band of not helpless I saw you fight, but capable people.
We each have our own specialties and our own skills. I'm sure you've noticed the lass, Tenru. She keeps quite quiet to herself. She's got her own skills. She's fluid.
You saw her abilities and some of what she is capable, although her talents are unfamiliar to me. And naturally,
Thorak points up at the sky.
You have Eagle Man up there.
Durdle smiles. We've each learned how to best complement one another. I have my dog, as you've met before. We have Usmok, his eagles. He has two, actually. You may have only saw one briefly, but he has another. And we've got Tenroujima and her skills with the religious deities. I don't know which
you
one.
have pungent odor, man.
Thorak's nose actually wrinkles a bit as he remembers the smell.
Durdle looks over to a sealed door where Alfred seems to have reclused himself to avoid company. Yeah, we can't get rid of him for some reason. He likes to keep tagging along. He was actually there at the Orc Warman of Teeth, and he did prove helpful, but yeah, pungent's one way to describe him.
If he is bothersome, I could get rid of him.
Durdle waves his hand. He's a nuisance, but his benefits far outweigh the negatives.
You do not say that as if you are entirely convinced of your own words, Durdle.
I've been proven wrong many times before.
Very well, Durdle.
And
It was a joke, by the way. But I know, like,
Thorak thinks about this.
I suppose if I told you that I find dwarves to be incredibly tasty, that it wouldn't come across as humorous, would it?
you wouldn't be the first person to tell me that, and to be fair, you're not the closest that's also shared that, but I think enough people have told me that I'd probably agree with you. You know, the old saying, you know, one man's a fool, two man. You need to think about it. Third person tells you you're tasty, you're probably goddamn tasty.
Perhaps I will try sometime.
And Durdle is, you know, he's basically over my and he just sort of slides off and just can't help but laugh.
You have given me much to think about, Durdle. I must process all of this, along with what exciting things I will find outside of my boring homeland.
And at this, Thorak actually sits back down, cross-legged, and rests his claws on his lap. He looks up at Durdle.
I will be paying attention, no matter what you may see of me, so by all means, linger around.
Durdle nods. I just have one more question for you before, and I'm sure it's probably something you're thinking about, and it's very short time for me to say, but what do you wish to do when you go out? Do you know of anywhere to go, anyone to meet?
I have never been off of my homeland before, Durdle. Full of despair, and orcs and trolls and ogres and wyverns and spider eaters, and even that one hydra I killed. Just...
Thorak shakes his head.
I don't know what waits me beyond here, but I hope it is less boring than how my homeland had become. When you are the greatest predator, contrary to what others may think, things get a little dull.
Well, if you ever think of any answers or any place you want to go, just pipe up. We're heading to...
don't know of any place outside of my home.
Durdle raises his hands for a moment, realizes the ogre's not looking at him. Well, more if you have anything that you feel you would be interested in doing, such as finding another hydra. Durdle smiles. It is, rest well. I need to go and see if I can find Tenroujima.
That is what Durdle is left with.
Durdle spends a few moments actually, you know, entering into the ship to look for Tenroujima to see how she's doing.
I was actually looking for a moment that, yeah, I'm coming on deck, but it's going so nice. when you walk down into the lower decks, you'll see Tenroujima come out of her cabin a lot cleaner than when you last saw her. You can actually see nice chestnut brown hair for once instead of kind of more black with a slight wave in it, and she has clean clothes on. If you'll read her. Good day, Durdle.
Hello, Tenru. It's good to see you're doing well. Of course, making most use out of the facilities. How are you handling yourself? Obviously, we had to leave quite quickly, as well as, well, you encountered a lot of drama.
She nods, and I'm doing okay.
Is there anything that you'd fancy asking? Regarding what I told you before when we met our new companion, our new traveling companion.
No, not really.
Well, anyway, what can you tell me about, how do you pronounce it, Jakathmore?
That's, shall we sit somewhere? This could take a while.
Come on, let's go up on deck, enjoy the sunlight.
Sounds good.
So Durdle looks around, finds a couple of barrels, and just, he perks himself up on one, having to, vault himself up, since this is a bit bigger barrel than, dwarven seats and accommodation.
Tenroujima will sit down on the other barrel facing Durdle. Where would you like me to begin?
Well, firstly, what was the place that you wanted to head to? Sorry, my memory's not the best here.
Ravenspire. Doesn't sound ominous, but it's not that bad.
Why do you want to head there? Something interesting there?
It's close to where I lived.
You hail from Jakathmore?
Yes. I was born there, in the city of Wedgemore.
Durdle perks up a bit. Something that surprised me. I barely know who you are. Durdle can't help but, help a little laugh. So you hail from Jakathmore. Why did you leave?
She'll be silent for a moment and look a bit unhappy, and she'll say, well, my village got ravaged by undead one night. Yeah.
Durdle's sudden, cheerfulness dips a bit and goes, well, I made a balls up of that, didn't I? I apologise for my poor manners. Are you alright about that?
I'm alright. You can have known. It's okay.
Is everyone okay? I mean, were you able to fend it off or escape? I mean, obviously you're okay.
You actually see some anger on her face, and she's biting her teeth, and she will say, no, this night is when I saw my father die in front of my eyes, and never see my mother again.
Durdle leans back and goes, I'm really not doing a good job here, am I? But to be hasty, if everyone over there if your family's dead, do you wish to go back to see if you can help?
Well, I would like to see if I can find my mother, or at least know if she has died or not. And yes, I would very much so like to see what happened to the village, city, after I made a run for it, and see if I can help restore it.
Durdle scratches his beard. Well, we've got two objectives that we need to achieve then. Firstly, we've got, as you know, we've got to amass this army to deal with the undead. And that's what we're both here for. Secondly, though, we need to help you out. You've done a lot for the party, and you've asked for nothing. Less than nothing. You've been giving far more than you should. If this is what you want, I'll happily dedicate myself to it. I'm sure we can ask Usmok when he comes back, but knowing him, he'll probably happily help you out on this, especially if undead's involved.
What you mentioned, she will let out a forced smile, still angry at remembering the whole situation at home, and well, that will be great.
Durdle nods. Well, what can you tell me about Raven?
It used to be a proud fortress in the north, in the old kingdom of Tricarthamore, but all the war and the undead harassing the duchy as of late had resulted in the fortification deteriorating with the shadow of its former glory.
Durdle nods. Well, if it's anything better than what Cais is in its shadowed form, I'm sure we'd have no problem dealing with this undead situation. Hell, me and you, we've slain dragons, hydras, giants, orcs, warchiefs. We've done a lot together. I'm sure we'd be able to deal with an undead threat. I mean, hell, we've dealt with zombies and witches. What's a few more skeletons? And Durdle tries to get a jovial little laugh out of Tenru.
Teamwork. Oh, it seems to have been internet issues.
Nah, that's no problem. He'll come back when he comes back. Well, it seems we can do two things. Two birds with the one stone. I'm glad Usmok's not here, he might take offense to that. Well, if we can help the city, maybe they can help us. And of course, if we can deal with the undead menace, well, maybe we can help you find your mother. We're going to be exploring the area.
It might be tricky to help the city, as Tricarthamore and its duchies kind of seem to be in a constant state of war, not against the undead, but also against each other. So that might not really work out.
They're at war with each other.
Yes, they constantly try to claim each other in the hopes they can reform Tricarthamore, but whenever someone has a large chunk, they seem to die and their sons inherit different parts, and it's shattered once more.
Thoroughly positive things. So, not only do they have the undead to deal with, but they've got each other?
Yes.
You hail from
It's less bad in the south, as the three duchies in the south are brothers and they have no reason to fight each other and just bask in their wealth. The north is rougher.
So, sounds like more politics to deal with. This is going to be fun. So, we've got 3 duchies, or 3...
There's a total of 9.
9. Oh, great. So we have the potential of 9 lords to placate and agree with one another to unify in some way if we're going to bring peace to Tricarthamore. Has anyone tried in the past? I'm assuming they have.
I am sure they have, but I have never seen it in the history record, so I may have overlooked it.
Durdle leans and says, well, firstly, Tenru, if we get involved, let's not have a repeat of the Dwarven Kingdoms.
She nods as... yeah.
As much as that is my home world, that was quite a painful experience, especially with Fognar. But speaking about more current events, do you have any idea what it's going to be currently like when we get there? Have you heard any news?
I've only heard that from the crier days before that Ravenspire was under attack once more, so I can only imagine.
Everywhere is under siege. Well, when we get there, hopefully we can help, or hopefully they've repulsed it, or held firm against it. That's all we can hope for. We're traveling as fast as we can. Durdle also, as he's saying this, he looks over to the open cargo hold. What do you think of our guest? Durdle's making no attempts to hide what he's saying.
He seemed a bit rough at first, but seeing him in the past few days, he seems like a rather reasonable half-ogre it was.
Well, for one thing, he doesn't seem to like other ogres, or... what is he? I mean, he looks like he's a half giant thing. But, regardless, I'm happy he didn't try to kill us. I'm happy he's still not trying to kill us.
Yeah, that'd be unfortunate.
If I...
This is rumbling is happening from the cargo hold and just like echoing across the ship.
If I wanted to harm anyone, it would have already been done.
Durdle can't help but laugh. You've told me already. I'm trying to flatter you. No. It's good to know.
Why you let the damn cries of Ogre Bane all throughout the city.
More just to raise awareness of what the people were, to try and keep them happy and placated. I'm pretty sure often if they saw an ogre or a giant entering in their city, they would be a bit afraid. I figure...
Because they weren't angry at or worried at all about the giant centipede outside of their gate.
That thing was already dead.
Durdle just hears a sigh come out of the cargo.
Durdle just shakes his head. There's some interesting tactics that were taken in that city.
Some better than others.
Also, I thought I made it clear, but I will provide a reminder. I am a half-ogre. My father's name was Groth the Ineffable, a warlord whose face I peeled and made into my own amulet.
Durdle rolls his eyes for a bit. Just sort of, he gets off the barrel and wanders over to the cargo hold.
Thorak is just sitting there, his eyes closed, his claws on his lap.
And looks over to Tenroujima, and he sits actually on the lap of the cargo hold, so it's his legs are dangling down into it. Well, you already told us that much. And to be fair, as I said before, my memory's not exactly the best. I can't be expected to remember everything. Also, and Durdle motions with his fingers, I've never met an ogre with claws.
I have.
Durdle smiles. Purely the more reason as to why I guess I forgot that you told me you're half ogre.
Not only did I mention it at one point, but I do believe the tyrant made mention of my mixed heritage as well.
Durdle nods. Well, if you're half ogre, I'm assuming the other half is something else.
Is,
Thorak can't even mention but one word. He just falls silent at that.
I'm trying to think what Durdle will do now. How's Usmok doing?
He's just kind of flying around, I guess.
You can hear the echoes in the air. Whee!
Like the
Unless
pigs in
there's
that
anything
freaking
else
commercial.
you want to know about your color more.
Yeah. Durdle leans back and goes, Caevan!
Even looks at Durdle. Yeah.
You busy?
Looks at the sort of steering wheel. Not really.
You want to come down here?
Give me a minute. He talks to the guy next to him. Can't really hear it due to the waves and the sea. But the other guy takes over and Caevan walks towards Durdle.
As is that, Durdle gets himself out of the cargo pit and back to standing to sort of greet Caevan.
As soon as Caevan approaches within a close enough range, although Thorak can certainly hear, he inhales deeply and says,
hello, Caevan.
Caevan nods.
Durdle smiles to Caevan and goes, I gotta admit, the guy's got a really good nose on him, as well as... Durdle looks towards the cabin where Alfred is. A very good nose on him. So how are you doing, mate?
Nod. Smiles. I'm well, I'd say. It is good weather. We are making good speed. We should be there in, well, if we are lucky, a month.
Durdle nods.
Sad thing about the cargo, though, we won't have much room for trading anymore. We'll have to find some other way to make coin.
We could always do odd jobs within the cities as we go along. Might cost us a bit more time, but
We should be able to find something at least. If nothing else, I know you guys have plenty of coin. He smiles, jokingly.
Durdle smiles back and just rolls his eyes.
Anything else?
Just a couple of things. Just wanted to chat to you. I figured you may have time.
Caevan.
Caevan looks down at Thorak.
Thorak actually he opens his eyes and looks up, and he actually stands up again.
You are a merchant, yes?
He sort of shrugs. I suppose I would be a merchant since I sell and trade things. It is not my trade, if I may say so, though.
I understand. I apologize for my presence here. I understand that it is difficult to carry much in the way of trade goods with me here.
Caevan nods. I accept your apology. It is really not needed. Durdle says you're okay to come with us, and in all honesty, I think he looks at Thorak, sort of the size of him. I think you'll do more good than a couple of barrels of wine, whatever else we'd fit down there.
I would still like to help on this front. You said it would take a month to arrive in Chicago.
Yes, that is a good estimate. It'll most likely be longer. we tend to not have clean voyages.
I see. Are there any sort of minor trading ports or what have you between here and there?
He sort of runs his hand through his hair, thinking, well, we will, depending on what route we take, we'll pass through many, by many. I would like to go the most direct route, but we still will need to dock and well, buy some supplies. We can't have everything we need for a month in the ship.
In that case, I should be able to assist you in your lack of goods for trade.
So, what do you mean?
Thorak begins, and he tries a different tactic.
As you can imagine, it is difficult to buy things in my size, yes.
He nods. Yes, that I haven't tried, but I would assume so.
I have become quite skilled in making things, armaments, both weapons and armor. I crafted both myself, as a matter of fact.
That this Thorak leans down, and he actually picks up this rather massively, this massive blade that has its scabbard over it, and he lifts it up.
If you would please look at it and let me know what you think.
He offers it with both of his hands towards Caevan, or Durdle, or perhaps them both, since the blade is rather big.
Caevan sort of moves out his hands, but as he sees sort of the blade, he decides to just let Thorak hold it. Let's see, inspects it.
So yeah, the scabbard is still on it. Thorak looks over towards Durdle.
Would you lift this so that Caevan make it a better look?
Sorry about that. Someone came into my room, so I missed the last 10 seconds of that.
It's fine. Thorak asks if you would lift the blade onto the deck so that Caevan and I suppose yourself and any sailors might get a better look. The scabbard is still over it.
Durdle leans down to pick it up, and
So, as soon as you pick it up, the the encumbrance value system. I don't know how familiar you are with pounds. The blade weighs 96 pounds.
Durdle is
Oh,
Jesus. he's a noticeably heavy
that's
weight.
like 2/3 my body weight.
That's about 2/3 of Durdle's body weight as well. So he takes it up and clonks it down onto the as gently onto the desk as he could, and goes, "Bloody hell!" Oh man, I wouldn't like to be on the receiving end of this.
You hear a low chuckle. I think it's 43.5 kilograms. Thorak obviously expected this reaction, and he is actually amused by this.
Anyway, let's have a look at this blade.
The hilt is a swarthy and black color. There is one gem set into it, a gem that depicts the color of a cloudless sky. And as you remove this this curved scabbard, you will find a giant blade, a curved with a point at the end, made of a silvery white metal, which seems to gleam in the sunlight, obviously of superior craftsmanship, and very, very sharp and large.
At hearing the blade pluff on the deck, Tenroujima will walk over and take a look at the blade in amazement, just trying to comprehend how you can swing that thing around.
That is sealed, named after my mother. I crafted the blade myself, although it took me a long time to do so. Similarly,
there is a slight toss. Thorak was not wearing his breastplate. There's a clunk as the mithril breastplate falls on the deck.
I made that as well.
So it's like actually on the deck.
It's on the deck.
Right. And Durdle looks over.
The deck breaks.
That was a weak bridge.
I was gonna say, if it was gonna break under the weight of that, then it would have broken under his weight.
Yeah, probably.
Durdle looks. How long have you been able to craft? How long have you been crafting this equipment?
I do not remember the exact times, only that it took me a while to find enough platinum required to manufacture such a blade.
Durdle looks at it and kind of, guesses at the value somewhat.
Blade is made of solid platinum.
And he looks at it and he sort of strokes it with his fingers just to see how smooth and effective the weapon is. How did you craft something such precious metals? So and I'm just wondering how smooth the weapon actually is.
Oh, quite smooth and very sharp. Platinum is normally quite valuable, but this has quite understandably been magically treated so that it retains its rigidity. And it is very heavy, and in addition to that, quite cumbersome to wield, although, considering one person of your size anyway,
I kind of lose a lot of my bonuses if I wielded that.
I mean, for one, given the fact that it's been made of platinum, it requires an exotic weapon proficiency just to wield. And of course, it's a huge weapon, so a little bit out of your size range.
How did you get the materials to craft this, let alone to make it itself? The tools, the equipment?
I have all of the tools I need aboard the ship to make such items.
Thorak raises to his feet in the cargo hold.
But I could not make such a thing in a month, or even 6. It would be a long process.
Well, Durdle looks at it and then looks up to Caevan. And back to Thorak. It says, well, you might not need to build something like this, but... Durdle she puts the weapon back in its sheath to protect it. That is quite the set of skills that you have, and I'll tell you now, you do not need to offer any of your services to the ship. You're here as a guest, you're not here as
I asked Caevan, not you, Durdle.
Caevan slowly nods and says, what can you make in a month?
At this, Thorak actually runs one of his claws through his head, and he says,
Well, materials would be such that I couldn't make anything too expensive or even of masterwork quality. I could make weapons and armor befitting creatures of your size. Heavy maces, sickles, chain shirts. There are many things I could do in a month. Even in a week alone, I am confident I could make 9 heavy maces befitting a creature of your size. So, 36 maces in a month.
Caevan. Not slowly. Why would we sell 36 maces, though?
I could just make it does not have to be such that I make only those weapons in the entire month. I could make suits of padded armor, or leather armor, or chain shirts. I would prefer not to make anything a bit more complex than that, as it would be too long and, in the end, probably not that profitable overall. But I imagine I am unfamiliar with things outside of my homeland and of trading a lot in general, but that the world is encountering dark times and many people are in need of weapons and armor.
Caevan nods. Says, "Well, this is a great offer. It's it's more than what I would have expected anyone to be able to do in such time too, and with such limited facilities. If I don't think we have the materials needed for this kind of work yet. However, when we make port next, I shall try to acquire them."
That's good. I will. I presume that I would not be able to easily travel with you. I will rattle off a list of things. The materials will, though, not be that expensive in comparison to the finished products.
Sort of looks at the breastplate. With this sort of craftsmanship, I think we should be able to make a nice profit off of it. Nothing else, it should be able to keep the crew fed and paid. Well paid. And I'm willing to take out of the ship's covers and use that for buying materials.
It is good that morale will be kept, because I sure as hell cannot steer this damn ship.
And smiles at this. I think only 2 people on this ship can. At least, in a decent way.
Surely swashbuckling Durdle can make it happen.
Yeah. It's actually something.
He'll just pretend he has the proficient sailor skill. He'll make it happen.
I roll a bluff check. 29.
The wheel is unamused. Quick, appeal to its power.
The wheel stealers itself.
Apologize for your insolence to the steering wheel.
Yeah, it actually seemed that Caevan, since last time you sailed with him, he's become a lot more energetic, and he seems to know a lot more of what he's doing, really, giving out many more orders, and sort of he seems to inspire the crew to work extra hard and such.
Even bought a whip.
Seems he's actually becoming quite a good captain.
With those words, Thorak actually lifts himself out of the cargo deck enough to bring his breastplate back down, and the blade, which he lifts rather easily, and stores it down with him as well. He actually, upon picking up the blade, lets out a low rumpled chuckle again upon looking at it. His gray eyes filled with what could supposedly be described as mirth.
As Thorax is doing this, Durdle looks to Caevan and goes, "Actually, Caevan, did you encounter anything interesting on your travels to Cais?"
Caevan sort of looks at Durdle as if he's not really sure what to say. That depends on what you would consider interesting.
Just seems you hold yourself a lot better.
Yes, it's good to be back in the old role. It's been a long time since I've been steering a ship, or at least it were. And of course, now I've been sailing for a couple of months. It's all beginning to come back.
What did you do over the last couple of months? I mean, I know when we left off it was to have a look at the Gnomish kingdoms and trade, but what did you accomplish out there, and what did you do since?
I met an old friend in the Gnomish lands, and I traded there, spent some time, got fresh crew. Some of the old ones wandered off, and, traded, took it easy. Went to both Dance Toll Tower and Whirlpool. We're doing great. Good cities, interesting places. I always liked the Gnomish cities, although we had to sail away before it got too extreme. Stay too long and they begin to consider you one of them. Smiles. After that, I sort of began wondering what was going on with you. And, I wanted to find out. So we sailed down to the southern part of Umkara, where in the glaciers we encountered a sort of, well, you would call it a witch. We talked, and it was said that you would be found in Cais. We would find you by following the lights in the sky. So we did, and we sailed through the Dracana pass and down through the waters. Relatively without problems. We had bought a lot of fruit that we would sell in Cais, and when we got there, we were, of course, stuck. The city in problems.
And of course, lost all of your fruit, I assume.
As we sold it rather quickly. Innkeepers were willing to buy.
Well, at least you still had the powers to sell your stuff.
Yes, the city hadn't been under siege for that long. No looting, no. The Sea Lord didn't steal our stuff. Actually, talked to him. He seemed like a decent guy, although a bit pessimistic.
Well, hopefully he's a bit cheerier now.
So, yes, I would imagine so. I kept the ship ready to sail at all times, since I didn't know when you got there if you would want to, well, leave the city at once or not.
Doornods. It was a distinct option for us to run the blockade and get the hell out of here. But, call me an old fool, I just wanted to see what I could do to save the city.
Yes, I would not call you a fool, Durdle. Many things, but never a fool.
I can't help but laugh at that. Many have called me much worse, especially that Vognar. And seemingly Thorak likes to say the odd few words, and I've barely known him.
Well, you did say that since you're a half ogre, that you must have another half of something else, or something to that effect.
Caevan looks at Thorak. Yes, I would imagine you would. Not that it's any business of mine, though. I'm just glad to have you on board. I'd much rather have one such as you as my ally than my enemy. And allies seem to be few when we travel around. Seems to be problems everywhere.
It's actually the right. You said it seemed quite peaceful. I mean, did you encounter any problems in your travels?
The odd pirates. A raiding ship. Almost smashed into a glacier once. You know, the standard interesting stuff you meet down here.
Daryl smiles, looks around and says, well, you look to have done well. Especially you still kept those adventurers that we found when we left.
Yes, not much adventurers as deserters, but they're doing great. I myself worked in a mercenary company once, and I can relate. I wouldn't force them to fight, but they're good good deckhands. They know their way around.
Daryl smiles and says, you used to be a mercenary, eh?
There's that too.
A mercenary, a captain, a guard, and, well, general know-all. Is there anything that you aren't?
Well, I've never been a lumberjack.
It's not a half ogre.
I've never been that too.
Daryl can't help but laugh at this.
I did a bit of adventuring.
You gotta tell me some of your stories sometime.
Sometime. Yes, I actually think I did once, but you must not have listened.
Some more of your stories.
So I've got a lot.
Daryl shakes his head a little bit. So where's the first port of call that we'll be making?
I expected to sail directly to Dracana, but we might have to make in one of the smaller fishing towns. I would rather stay off the Scar for as much as possible.
How long do you think we'll be in the fishing village for?
A day, two, just buying up whatever supplies we can get. Most likely just gonna be dried fish, salted if you're lucky.
Well, I may have a few ideas of what we can do out there.
You know, it should be in about 5 to 6 days.
Thorak, who apparently doesn't really do a good job of getting jokes, or apparently his humor is something else entirely, says,
I can't make heavy maces out of dried fish, Caevan.
Yes, I know, or I would think so at least, but I don't think the fishing villages have the necessary materials for sale. We can certainly try. We might be able to find one that sells some skin or hides for padded or leather armor, but... I guess we'll have to see when we get there. They are very, very small. We might even stop at more than one, just to stock up.
Well, we'll do our best. We'll see what we can accomplish out there.
Yes, and then when we get to Dracana, we'll have to pay to get through, and after that, we have a large amount of options of where and how to sail to Dracana.
Dracana.
Yes, it's the one city that has a channel that binds the Great Sea to this southern sea.
Is it owned by these gnome creatures you mentioned?
Jake said, no, Dracana is not owned by, well, pretty much anyone. It's under a wizard or a magic user of some kind anyway.
How much will that toll cost?
Depends on what we bring. They judge it independently by vessel. Usually 20% of whatever trade good we're carrying.
I suppose this gets back to the whole how much is a half ogre worth thing.
Smiles. Yes, I think we should let them judge that. It'll be amusing, I'm sure.
Especially if you're wielding that blade.
Hope they don't value me too lowly. That would be unfortunate.
How much can you lift? For that alone, you might be worth something.
Thorak, he quirks his head and,
Well, lifting everyone aboard this ship wouldn't be a challenge. I don't know the exact number, though.
Caevan clearly meant this is a joke, and it's a bit taken back by the half-ogre's sort of literal response. Exactly.
Probably couldn't lift the ship itself, but I could certainly push it, especially on the water.
I should give you a water walk and just push it all the way to Jakarta.
Well, that's one way to speed up the trip.
oh no, speaking as a player, I'll go ahead and mention this number that the other players don't know, but, does the ship weigh 24,000 pounds or less? Because that's my push or drag limit.
24,000 pounds.
And light load, if you were swashbuckler, how much could you?
It's about 9 tons-ish, maybe?
There's a couple of elephants.
My light load is 1,600 pounds, which is 725 kilograms.
Jeez, you could carry 7 Durdles for that and still be under light load.
That's why Thorak said he could carry all of you. Now he might not be in light load by carrying everyone.
Oh no, that's a scary amount of weight that he can lift. You've got a strength figure of about 42.
Oh. Let's see, 24,000 pounds is over 10,000 kilograms, so I just wanted to know how much the ship weighed.
Ah, so over 10 tons then.
I'm actually not sure. Anyway,
Well, seeing as a car usually weighs about 800 kilos, I think the ship probably weighs more than 10 tons. Probably hundreds of tons.
It's actually not horrible. We have a small ship, so... And it's usually open and not...
I need to Google this now.
I'm gonna say,
And it-
I'm asking the peculiar sorts of questions the DM never prepares for. How much does the ship weigh? Manaki.
actually, you guys haven't renamed the ship.
Oh shit, yeah, we didn't.
Right, it's still the Vulture.
Still the Vulture.
Caevan had a suggestion, right? Or was that the Vulture?
No, that's the name of it.
Oh, I thought he had a suggestion.
He wanted to see your suggestions.
Oh,
Jake's still at dinner, so he won't be able to give any right now.
he needs to get back on his eagle as well before he can even respond.
That's right, he's too busy going, whee!
It's alive!
I made it alive!
That's such a good thing. It's like, I guess Caevan could raise that up, saying, have you decided on a name yet? It's been about a week.
Sure.
Well, we had a siege to worry about, so you can't exactly blame us.
But now you guys have a super serious answer to how much Thorak can carry. Now you know.
A lot.
Kim looks at you and says, by the way, have you thought about a name for the ship?
I have a few ideas, but to be fair, we've not been together as a crew or a group to decide what seems the best idea. I mean, I've got a few right now, but Durdle shrugs.
Kim looks at you, well, speak your mind.
Revenant, Impaler, Fearless, Dreadnought, Imperator.
Dreadnought.
So, furrows his brows. I thought of something a little less, well, ominous than the Vulture.
Go on.
Your suggestions seem ominous.
Valiant. Why not call it the Valiant then? Something honourable.
Something honorable, I think. It's just, after all, a ship that carries heroes. It's the heroes of Cais.
Don't you start with that hero worship too.
Durdle can't help but laugh.
Even smiles at Thorak.
We're no heroes, Caevan. We're no heroes. Just lucky
No.
people.
That's lucky indeed.
How about you, Thorax? You know any honourable names?
Thorak.
And you said no hero worship.
Well, again, Ogre Bane, Ogre Bane, Ogre Bane.
He says this in a mocking sort of way, lifting one of his claws into the air in the form of a fist,
Ogre Bane.
and he shakes his head.
You never told me I had to come up with a name.
Just if you have any ideas, we're here anyway. I figure I'd ask.
Oh, why don't you ask Tenroujima over there, or
He points up at the sky.
Eagle Man?
Durdle looks up and says, I don't think my voice is that loud to ask him. Tenroujima, you got any ideas?
The Elysium.
What?
Yeah, all of the characters will be like, what? What the hell is that? And
Exactly, that's why Thorak said the what.
Did you say Elysium? Trying to remember how you pronounce that. Yeah, you did. Alright, okay, cool.
Let me
Caevan
see him.
nods.
What does that mean?
Brilliant. I have no idea what that means either.
Oh, right, you probably want to know what it means.
Awkward silence.
We're just all staring at Tenroujima.
She's
Oh
like,
shit, you want to know
absent-minded.
something?
Like she's Alfred. Like, oh, crikey.
It is the realm of Perlor, or his sub-realm rather, I believe.
Is he an honorable man? Or deity?
Caevan
If he wasn't, I wouldn't worship him.
looks at Durdle sort of in a disbelieving look.
Durdle looks back at Caevan and goes, "What? I'm not religious."
So, yeah.
I see.
Even I, an uncivilized half-ogre, know of the gods the humans worship. You don't let him off the ship much, do you, Caevan?
He shakes his head. When I do, it's for long, and it's in the scar.
Doesn't reflect well upon my homeland.
Shakes his head. Well, I'm sorry, but it isn't really the place I want to be either.
I can understand that. I'm not sure how valiant Elysium is, though, so much as... Well, I imagine most of the people who see it might be confused by it, too.
Caevan looks at Durdle. Says, about Pelor, he is one of the major deities, mostly revered in Jakathamor and Sakara.
Oh, Pelor. Oh, oops. Oh well.
Pelor,
Some reason I thought you said Baal, and it was like, who the hell's Baal?
I thought you said, I
It's
worship
probably one of the
Pelor.
lesser deities.
I was like really good. I was like, who's Baal?
Everyone in the boat's like, really? What?
Then perhaps something a bit more earthy, less religious.
Less religious.
Well, why are you all together? What's your purpose? Maybe you can make a name that ties into that.
Ultimately, we're here to save the world from the undead.
I think that's too long of a name.
Saviors? Call the ship the Savior.
That's not arrogant, is it?
Well, we were tasked with saving the world. It was a job thrust upon us.
Interesting.
Durdle looks to Caevan and Tenroujima, wondering if they're going to shut him down for his ideas, like Thorak did.
Doesn't say anything. He just looks at Tenroujima and Thorak, expecting you guys to work it out.
Thorak, yeah. As soon as Caevan looks at him,
Don't look at me. Not my ship. I've been exiled aboard here, remember?
Smiles.
I'll be honest, I can't really think of a more earthy thing. The other
Elysium.
ones are kind of pillow related.
You just need a name, something cool that rolls off the tongue. I'm traveling aboard the Elysium today. What?
Yeah, that sounds more like a spaceship.
If you want to do a spaceship, you could do Enterprise or Intrepid. I think I've recommended that name a few weeks ago, Intrepid, as Wagner.
Doesn't intrepid just mean explorer? I'm trying to remember what that means.
Intrepid itself, you're not an explorer, but it's an adjective that could be applied to an explorer. Intrepid, someone who's intrepid would be daring or bold. And you guys are certainly daring to do a lot of things.
Well, I think I have to agree. Let's stick with the classics here. I think intrepid's actually a lot more appropriate. We're a group of exploring and adventuring saviors.
Caevan looks to Tenroujima.
No objections here.
You'll have to talk to Usmok about it too, I suppose. But me, it's as good a name as any.
Intrepid it is.
We'll get that dealt with when we get to Dracana.
So, there is a city canal thing that charges for passage between the two bodies of water.
Caevan nods. Yes, if not going by that, you'd have to sail through the glacier areas. Those are, well, sometimes deep frozen, and sometimes they'll allow you to sail through unscathed. But it is a gamble, and I don't think we have time for gambles.
Is it a natural canal that they just lucked into building a city on?
She said, no, they've dug it. Actually, I don't think they did it exactly. I think it was there before they came.
How long has it been there?
He shrugs. I don't know the exact history of the area.
Understandable.
Welcome back, Jake.
Welcome back.
The group is currently on just trying to think of a great name to put on the ship while you're going wee.
Okay, looks at Durdle. Actually, of course, we can talk about this later, but to get an indication of where you think we'll be going, after Dracana, we can take, well, 3 directions. We can either sail towards Kokora and the Dwarven Kingdoms, trying to sail from there to Sakara and then to Knightsport and on to Ravenspire, or we could sail next to this great scar and port in Thrakai and some of the northern halfling villages, and then arrive directly in Ravenspire, or we could try to sail directly over the Great Sea to Knightsport. This will, of course, be the fastest, but also the most dangerous route.
Durdle thinks. Do you know if any of these dwarven areas have anything to do with the Grimbeard family at all?
I don't really know much about dwarven nobility. I know the Grimbeards have mostly been in the capital and Ithchar, but I don't think the kingdoms will be ready for us to visit them just yet. It would mostly be stocking up on gnomish goods, then trying to stay away from Kokora while we sail to Sakara. Of course, from the Criers' cries, we may happen to come across some of the dwarven nobles there.
Durdle sighs a bit. So ultimately, we're gonna encounter dwarves either way.
Well,
if we take that way around, we could go around the scar.
Right. Thrakai should be too far from the tyrant's influence that I should have no problem being there.
Not. Oh, and last time we were there, some events happened that may have riled up the city towards us.
Durdle looks at Thorak and says, "Well, Thorak, if you have any intention of perhaps staying with us, you should know we've pissed off a lot of people."
Well, since I was banished from my homeland, I imagine I have done the same.
Just in the attempts of full disclosure, mate.
Is that so? Well, worst case, I'm not guilty by association.
Here's hoping. Here's hoping.
Besides, if anyone's stupid enough to attack me, well...
Thorak lets that one trail off.
Well, it would be entertaining for those who watch, I assume.
Caevan nods. We could, however, also just sail directly over the sea. We'd have to buy large amounts of, well, not really tasty supplies, and would be quite unpleasant to stay at sea this long, but...
Durdle looks at Caevan and says, "Personally, I prefer the other two options over staying on a ship. I already get seasick as is. I'd rather avoid being on as long as possible." So ultimately we have two options. Dwarves or orcs.
He nods. Not as much orcs, necessarily. There are many things in the Scar. Orcs usually don't come to the northern parts, or really to the western part at all.
What can you tell us about the northern parts?
They're known for undead and, well, halflings and delicious food.
Durdle
Things
looks
that don't go well together.
Durdle looks to Tenroujima and says, "Have you got any opinion on the matter of which path to take? Dwarves or the undead and halflings, and preferably maybe food?"
Or sailing directly across.
You see a quick flinch of anger when you mention that, but I don't think going the dwarven route is the best option, so either straight through the center, and if anything, I can feed you all, so we don't have to stock up that many supplies. That should be fine. Or the Scar route.
Durdle looks over to Thorak. "Well, Thorak, you've got as much vote in this as us. What do you decide?"
Thorak is looking a little confused at Tenroujima.
You can feed all of us. Explain. Is this another one of those
And he like lifts one of his claws and he just like wiggles his fingers.
things?
These things are a blessing from my deity, which he allows me to do, if you will, every day.
Well, I don't eat, so no one has to worry about supplies from me.
You don't eat? What? Why?
Consider that one of my blessings.
Tenroujima looks a bit confused, but nods.
Thorak shakes his head, looks at Durdle.
Well,
He shrugs.
King looks around at you and says, "We can always change our mind when we get to Dracana. That's where we really need to make the decision."
if we can get the raw materials there, at least, then I don't need to make a stop anywhere else. I'm fine.
Nods. We should be able to buy ample supplies there. It is known to be a place where, well, magical goods are traded often. Close enough to the gnomish lands that many scholars live there and come there, but not so close as to be, well, annoying.
mentioning gnomes. How are these gnomes? I don't think I've ever met one.
He sort of looks a little befuddled at this. Says, "You will like them, I'm sure. They are like small humans, slightly larger heads. They like jokes and trickery and generally to make fun of people and things. They're very light-hearted and, well, they are known to be very... thinks, trying to explain it. They would support... Well, if you imagine any possible course that one could work for, at least one gnome in existence would support it.
So, let's say I wanted to lead a campaign to kill all of the gnomes. There would be at least one gnome who agreed with that.
Yes, that is a common saying among humans. I don't exactly know the truth of it myself. I may like them more than good is, but it certainly does get the point across.
These creatures sound very confusing, Caevan.
They are. Their naming habits, for example, is such that they would take their name, of which they have about 40, then they would select the ones that sound the funniest to say, and just use those.
40? I thought my lengthy list of titles I gave for my personal glory were long enough.
No one really knows their full names. You shouldn't ask.
I see.
In this case, he settling back down, he shakes his head and says,
What have you all led me into?
I claim no responsibility.
Well, just informing you of what the world holds.
The world holds many things worse than gnomes, I can assure you. They are mostly harmless.
Mostly.
Would I be an effective deterrent for pirates if I stayed on deck?
Okay. Looks at Thorak and says, I suppose so, yes.
Well, I certainly didn't have any plans for staying down here the entire time. Anyway, I don't think the ship moves that fast. I should be able to swim out in the sea beside you without any problems.
If you are good at swimming, I suppose. It really depends on the weather. Right now, there shouldn't be a problem.
Right, and at night, I imagine almost all of the sailors sleep. I will stay on top deck at night.
No, that is a fair proposition. You shouldn't be in the way then.
Good. I can keep Eagle Man's eagle company.
Little chicken wing.
Usmok wakes up one day. a puff of feathers leaves Thorak's mouth.
This is kind of awkward.
I don't have to eat.
Thorak solution to the problem. He just cooks.
Well, that takes care of me for the next month. But you guys.
It is a large creature, so that would properly work for feeding.
For what it's worth, I'm sorry. He so weird. Don't walk.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Oh, good times. Still up in the air. Whee!
No,
So,
actually.
Durdle.
Oh, go ahead. Are you...
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go nuts.
Okay. At this point, I think Usmok is going to kind of return, kind of land on the deck. I don't know. Nod at anyone that would be like, I don't know if you guys are on the deck or not.
But they're all cargo hold.
Yeah, so, no, you can just, like, hear the thump and clatter of Twizzik's landing.
And then Thorak says, speaking of hearing the thump, he inhales and says,
The eagle has landed.
Durdle just, strange sigh.
He sort of walks a little and looks up at Usmok. Anything in sight?
Usmok looks down and says, no, it's a great day. Nothing but the ice flows about.
Ice? Well, that's to be expected. Nothing too big, I assume.
No, of course not.
Good. Just melting and treacherous at this time. There's a lot more underwater than above it, so even a small piece of ice can be large beneath the water.
Indeed. So, how has the day been passed for you down below so far?
It's been silent. I think everyone's resting out. We've been talking, me, Tenroujima, Durdle, and Thorak.
What about?
A new name for the ship, which way we should go. Why don't you come with us? Maybe you can give us your opinion on these matters.
Okay, so Usmok will come down to the cargo hold.
well, I don't think they're in the cargo hold. They're like standing
okay.
on
Still on
top
deck.
of Yeah.
chilling
Oh,
around.
okay, I thought you guys said that. Okay, yeah, well.
Thorak's just peering up, because he can do that. He's only 8
Okay.
This is where Thorak has to be stored in order so that he stays out of the way of everyone, Jake.
Okay, I get it now.
That's why not much cargo can be traded aboard the ship, because he's kind of taking up the room in the cargo hold. Him and his 96-pound blade.
Okay, then.
So as
So
soon as
yes,
he hears
join the
Usmok
others.
approaching, playing off what he mentioned earlier, thinking that he scared off Usmok, says,
Don't worry, I don't bite.
just a rumble from the cargo hold.
Usmok doesn't really respond. If not for like a small chuckle that you might hear, I don't know.
Mr. Durdle. So, Usmok, we've been talking. You could talk to the others about the ship name. I think they pretty much decided that. But other than that, do you have any preference in which way we go to Jakathamor?
Durdle looks to Usmok and says, we've got a choice between dwarfs, or undead, halflings and food, or we go straight to it.
Tenroujima will and I will be feeding you then.
Usmok says, there are many dangers on the open ocean, and I've had my fill of dwarves for a while. Let's go the way, you know what I mean. I don't know how to say this, but yeah, it's like, let's go for the halflings and the food, and could do for some good undead slaughter.
Which way was the way that you, Cais, was it where you all made an impact?
1 second.
So yeah, that not necessarily directed towards Usmok, just like everyone else. Like, I mean, speaking as a player, if Thorak is the way of like the undead and the halflings, I mean, there's a consequence of you guys returning to Thorak, given what may have occurred there.
Yeah, might encounter a drow, a very pissed
We'll
off
all
drow.
hold out in the cargo hold while the sailors actually do the trade. Well, actually, it doesn't matter. We don't have to set foot on land since I can feed you either way we go. So we
It'd
don't
just be the
have
whole.
any need for supplies.
It'd be the whole thing. Like, if you guys actually stepped out of the city, someone might recognize you as being associated with the butcherer of guards.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Be a little awkward. And suddenly Thorak has to break you all out of prison.
I can't believe this.
Fuck these guys, I'm going back home.
I want to kill giants. Listen, you little dumb shits. You will either run away from me now, or I will kill all of you. And I'm a lot tougher than this dull board.
With finger quotes.
And smacks his chest and goes, "I'm a lot more armored."
I do have an armor class of 21.
There you go. Three points higher than his highest.
If they try arrows, I have a ranged of AC of 26, man.
Booyah, bitches!
Even not. I would rather give the men some shore leave, actually. They do not like sailing for too long without getting at least their feet on land.
In that case, then, it appears the answer is obvious. We travel along the coast of the Scar and stop in Thorak.
Durdle nods. I better get my disguise and my stuff ready.
Well, I don't know how long Tricana to Thorak takes, but I think you have some time, since it will take, 5 days to get to Tricana?
Caevan shakes his head. It will likely take more. I don't think we'll have this good wind for this long.
It's always good to practice anyway.
If we stop by the fishing villages, which I can assure you we will, it'll take even longer. It is a long voyage.
And that's the option that we're going to take.
What
We can always
do-
consider.
What do the sailors do for shore leave in a fishing village?
Durdle can't help but laugh.
Caevan sort of looks away. I would not presume to know. He says, they do whatever they feel like doing with your shore leave. Some walk, some run, some swim, some talk, some drink. It is really not for me to say. Looks a little uncomfortable.
They swim. Aren't we in a sea right now? Couldn't they just go swimming on their off time?
So I suppose. But we also need to buy supplies from these villages, and since we're there, we might as well stay for a day.
I see.
Although, it looks at Tenroujima, you said you could conjure food for the whole crew?
Yes, I should be able to get enough to feed you daily.
We should look into this. If that's possible, then it will save us. If not money, then a lot of time.
If what we heard was right about Raven's place being under attack, then time is of the essence.
I'm in no hurry.
then I'm sure Tenroujima and Caevan, I'm sure you can handle this. It's beyond my expertise.
Caevan nods, smiles. I'm sure. If we do or do not, will save us a couple of days. Ravenspire might be under attack, but I'm sure we'll be there in time.
What is the city? Ravenspire, that is a human city.
Caevan nods. Yes, it is a human city, a city of Chikathamore. He sort of walks away a little, picks up a sea chart and shows Thorak the map. Have you seen a map like this before?
Thorak looks a little befuddled and shakes his head.
I have been.
And he points in the southern area between Cais and Olekar.
I have been here for my entire life, and
I'm looking at the rest of the map.
I know nothing of these places.
Caevan nods. We should teach you then.
Well, if what you said about those gnomes was true, I don't know if I want to learn anymore.
Attempt at a joke by Thorak.
Caevan doesn't really get it. He sort of looks at Thorak and says, well, you should at least know where we're going. He points to Ravenspire. Here. We'll go along the Great Scar, and then to Knightsport, then directly to Ravenspire. If not, we might stop at Witchcrown first.
And it will take us stopping at various places over a month to get there.
Yes.
I see. What is threatening this city that you mentioned?
From what we heard, it is one of the many undead incursions that have happened in the area. However, this one should be larger than the usual.
Undead. Those are no fun to kill at all. They express no emotion. More boring than orcs.
Well, if nothing else, it is what we'll have to defeat. There should be a lot of them.
At
More.
this, Thorak's expression almost brightens up.
A lot. Well, that may be more exciting.
No, so if it's excitement you look for, there should be plenty. They should be quite a lot more capable than anything the area has faced for, well, decades.
Well, then I suppose I will have to wait for such excitement. I don't know what to do with myself now. I will need those materials.
No, yes, I will. We will get them as fast as possible.
You don't suppose that those weapons may sell for any value in a city being besieged, would they?
He notes they might. However, he looks at Tenroujima. If I'm not wrong, Ravenspire isn't really the most wealthy city. I've never really been there.
That's true, they're not very rich. They make do with whatever they have.
It is not a city known for to be much good for trading, hence I haven't been there. I've been to Knightsport and Kralos, though.
Durdle sort of looks up to Caevan and goes, well, Caevan, looks like we've got ourselves set. You mind showing me the map so I can figure out? I always figured about navigating. Mind showing me the way?
Nods. I guess I could teach you a little bit. First mate is up for the sailing anyway. So,
Lead the way.
nods and walks towards the wheel. where he has sort of a little table with a compass and maps.
Durdle follows on suit.
As for Thorak, since this is the day of our departure, just sit cross-legged in the cargo hold and think about events and what's transpired and how he'll never see his home again. And
So yeah, Usmok will go back over to Twizzix and start taking care of him. I guess he'll call over Dozend, I guess, and start playing with him too. I don't know. Stuff like that. Eagle stuff. It's a big part of my life. Woo!
Red Eagle stuff. Super special Eagle clubhouse. Only Eagles allowed.
And Tenroujima will go back below decks, and you won't see much of her for the rest of the trip, really.
Well, as all of the characters go, each to their own, a weird, ominous cold rushes over the ship, and one person, the person at the wheel, suddenly has a different flicker in his eyes. This is something subtle, something no one really notices, but he smiles wickedly as he turns the wheel a tiny bit, steering the ship in a slightly off direction. Where that is to, or why he does this, we will not know for now. But you'll see it in the next episode of Dungeons and Dragons Sea.